I did not realize how much America had me in a chokehold until I left it. And I don't mean that in a cute, dramatic, I went on vacation and now I'm better than everybody kind of way. I mean, I left the country, lived abroad, came back to the United States, saw rent prices, grocery prices, healthcare costs, and just the general emotional violence of existing here. And I said, so I wasn't crazy. This place was expensive and stressful on purpose because sometimes you don't realize how tight something feels until you experience what it's like to actually breathe. And living abroad gave me breathing room financially, emotionally, mentally, even physically. And it changed how I thought about money, freedom, self care, rest, location, and just what it actually means to build a soft life. So today I want to talk about what moving abroad has taught me, not just as a travel story, but as like a lifestyle design lesson. And then I also want to share some details of what my life was like, what it cost me, when I was living abroad at different stages of my life. Hey, y'all, welcome back to my channel. I'm Kiara Ivy, aka Kiara the Concrete Rose, aka your lifestyle design bestie. And around here, we talk about lifestyle design, adulting, soft life strategies, singlehood, child free living, location independence, personal growth, and just building a life that actually feels like yours. And today we're getting into one of my absolute favorite topics, and that's living abroad and practicing geo arbitrage, all right, as I like to call it. But I want to be clear from the beginning because I know this title is going to, make some people wonder. This is not an America is trash and everywhere else is perfect video, okay? Because everywhere has issues. Every country has their own problems. Every place has trade offs. So I am not here to overly romanticize another country like it does not have bills, bureaucracy, mosquitoes, traffic, confusing paperwork, and, just people being rude. Life can life anywhere and everywhere, and it absolutely will, right? It can humble you wherever you are. But living abroad, it did show me something very important. A lot of what I thought was my personal failure was actually environmental pressure. And that realization changed me because when you're inside of a system long enough, you start blaming yourself for how heavy it feels, right? You think you need to budget harder, work harder, wake up earlier, be more disciplined, be more grateful, be more positive. Meanwhile, the cost of simply existing is tap dancing on your neck. And nobody wants to say that part out loud. So I'll say it. And I'm not also going to act like we couldn't stand to, budget better or work harder or, wake up earlier. I'm not going to say that nobody needs to do that. Maybe some of us out here really do need to practice some more self-discipline and personal growth and development. I'm not saying that, but I am saying that environment genuinely helps you with it without it feeling like a chore. Okay. One of the first things living abroad taught me was that stress has a price tag. In America, y'all, America be charging a premium for that stress. Okay. When I lived abroad, certain parts of my life immediately became lighter because they were just simply more affordable. Housing was more affordable. Like, y'all, I went from paying $1,200 in a mortgage here to $375 for a high-rise luxury condo, one-bedroom apartment. So when I say affordable, like, hear me. Mind you, transportation was easier and cheaper too because I didn't need a car out there. So that was what, $370 in a car loan gone, $200 a month in gas, car insurance gone. So when you think about that, like, that's where the beauty starts to come in. Of course, when those things are not coming out of your bank account, it's going to provide you with a much lighter feeling, right? Food was also extremely affordable. When I was living in Korea, it was actually cheaper for me to eat out every day. Home cooked meals, by the way, because those ajumas, they know how to cook a good meal, okay, in their family run restaurants. But it literally would have cost me more to cook there than going out every night. Self care is a lot more affordable in some of the places I've been. Like, how much does it cost you to get your lashes done, sis, in the US? How much does it cost you to get your nails and feet done, your manicure and pedicure? How much does it cost to get your micro braids or your knotless braids? How much does it cost you to get a massage? I can tell you how much it cost me. My lashes were $20, my braids were $80. And y'all, they looked good too. My manicure, pedicure would come out to sometimes about 45 to $50 depending on how intricate my designs and how long my nails were. My if y'all have ever been to a Korean, jjimjilbang, the day spa, right? The Korean day spa that's 24 hours. Well, if you've never been to one in the US, then you won't know that it's like a $50 for the day, right? To go spend there. And when I was living abroad, not only did I get it for about 35 to 40 bucks, but that included a 60-minute massage. So when I say to you self-care was also more accessible, this is what I mean, okay? The cost of having a decent day was lower. And that's important for you all to know because when every little thing costs a lot more money, your nervous system never fully relaxes. You are not just paying bills, you are anticipating bills. You're mentally calculating every single decision. You're thinking about rent, utilities, groceries, gas, insurance, healthcare subscriptions, emergencies, and that mystery expense that likes to pop up just because you dare to feel stable for once. And it becomes normal. We normalize it. You think it's just a part of adulthood, right? But then you live somewhere where your basic lifestyle costs less. And suddenly you realize, I am not naturally this anxious. My life was just very expensive to maintain, and your girl felt suffocated, okay? That was a huge shift for me, y'all, because abroad, I was able to experience a different kind of daily breathing. Not because life became perfect. I assure you it did not. And I will be telling that part of the story very soon. So stay tuned for more videos. But the pressure was not pressing on every side at once either. And that changed how I saw freedom. Freedom was not just doing whatever I wanted. Freedom was not having every decision feel like a financial hostage negotiation. That is the kind of peace that I really struggle to describe to people when they ask me about my experience. Okay, so now let's talk about the moment that really had me questioning everything, y'all. So it was coming back to the United States and seeing that rent was $3,000. So this was, I think it was uh, end of 2019, top of 2020. Came back. I had been living in Croatia for the last like 11 months prior to that. And I was spending about 600 euro a month on rent, and that included utilities. Y'all, I come back to the US, COVID hits. My ex husband and I had to settle down. So we went to Dallas, Texas, and our rent was $3,000. And let me tell you, after living abroad and paying significantly less, seeing $3,000 for rent, it felt like a personal attack. It felt like America looked me in the face and said, "Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed breathing." Like that's how it felt. because $3,000 rent is not just a bill, it is a lifestyle assignment. It tells you how much you have to work, what kind of jobs you can accept, how much risk you can take, how much rest you can get or that you can afford. And so, and mind you, this was a time that I was doing very well financially. So it wasn't really about the money, it was the principle of the thing, right? When you see $3,000 in rent, it tells you whether or not you can save. It tells you whether or not you have permission to pivot. It tells you whether you can even think creatively without your bank account clearing its throat in the background. Like that's at least that's how it feels. And that's when you start realizing that location is not just a backdrop. Like location is a lifestyle decision, you know? It's an economic decision as well. I believe where you live shapes what kind of life is possible, right? It shapes your options, your stress, your pace, your relationship with money. It shapes your ability to rest. It shapes how much of your life is spent maintaining your life. That one is key too, because sometimes we're not actually living, we're just maintaining, maintaining the rent, maintaining the car, maintaining the insurance, the appearance of stability, maintaining a lifestyle we are not even sure we chose. And then we wonder why we're so freaking exhausted. Because the maintenance fees are outrageous. That's why. Who gonna pay for this? Who? Another thing that changed me was how affordable the self-care was. And this is where people sometimes misunderstand the soft life. They think soft life is about being fancy or super luxurious. But for me, a soft life was truly about my nervous system regulation. Can I calm my nervous system in this place? Can I take care of my body? Can I rest before I hit a wall? Can I access support without feeling like I need a financial sponsor? Living abroad showed me that self-care does not always have to feel like an event. It can literally be woven into the fabric of your day-to-day life. Massages were were a normal part of my life, whereas a massage in Warren, Ohio, at the country club that I used to go to were what, 190? $190 for a massage. Granted, there were other places you can get them done cheaper, but yeah, I have to admit, I'm just bougie and there's just no way around it. But, when beauty services are so much more accessible, when good food at high-end restaurants are easier to get, when walking around is normal, it's a part of your day to day. That's another thing. When I was living in the Philippines or Malaysia, I don't think more than 2 days went by where I didn't walk for at least an hour to 2 hours a day. It was very seldom that it happened. And it was not because I'm disciplined with my exercise. I never walked when I was here in the States. I never worked out. I never had a routine going. And if I tried to start one, I always reneged. I always failed. But somehow I get abroad and walking every day, an hour to 2 hours a day, felt normal. It didn't feel like I was adopting a new habit. It just felt like my life now. Mind you, Grabs, Uber is like the version of Uber, are super cheap. You can go a 15, 20-minute ride for $2 to $3. Okay. So it wasn't that I was being cheap either, walking everywhere. It just felt good to walk. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. I felt like when I was living in the US, rest felt like an expensive reward that I had to earn after suffering. Whereas abroad, it felt like an inalienable right. And that changed my body because when self care is affordable, You do not wait until you're falling apart to take care of yourself, right? You can maintain yourself. That's the difference. In America, self-care often feels like crisis management, right? You are burned out, so you book the massage. You're overwhelmed, so you order takeout. You're exhausted, so you buy something. You're overstimulated, so you escape for a weekend and call it balance. But abroad, I got to experience self-care as true maintenance and not an emergency repair. And that's indescribable, folks. It really is. Because your nervous system does not just need one dramatic reset every quarter. It needs consistent signals of safety. It needs daily evidence that your life is not just taking from you, robbing you. It needs moments where your body can say, "Oh, okay, we're not in danger right now." That is what affordable self-care gave me. It helped me to regulate. It helped me to soften, right? It helped me to stop treating my body like a machine that only deserved attention after it broke down. So, living abroad also helped me understand something about productivity and discipline. I was not lazy. My environment was just loud. And I don't just mean noise, I mean the environment was demanding, right? America has a way of making everything feel urgent. You're always supposed to be doing more, earning more, improving more, responding faster, planning ahead, staying competitive, staying available or insured or booked and busy. And then when you're tired, people tell you to meditate. Ma'am, I do not need a meditation app. I need my rent to stop threatening me. That's what I need right now. It's like living abroad created enough distance for me to just see how much of my exhaustion was, in fact, environmental. And I used to be this extremely productive person because my background is in productivity and time management coaching and strategy. So I have it in me naturally. I really do. And it's something that I'm very good at. But I can tell you the last couple of months that I was living in the US before I moved abroad, I was not productive at all. I was not getting anything done for my own business. Nothing. And then I move out the country and I come back with a freaking book, having written a book in 6 months. I'm telling y'all, there's no feeling like it. Living abroad, it really did so much for me because I can tell you that the person that I was before I moved is very different from the person that you're seeing right now. I truly feel like I'm evolving, I'm growing, I'm growing at an exponential rate. The biggest thing living abroad also gave me was a more practical definition of freedom. Before, freedom sounded big and abstract. Freedom sounded like quitting your job, being rich, doing whatever you want, traveling the world, having no responsibilities. But living abroad made freedom feel more grounded and more of like a day-to-day requirement, right? Freedom became having more breathing room in my budget, which I did, okay? Having time to just walk slowly, which I did all the time. Being able to afford regular care. Here, I wasn't even able to get my iron infusions without a primary care doctor. There, I improved my symptoms from severe iron deficiency anemia. And once they saw my labs, they got me the help that I needed. I was able to afford it. I was able to manage it quite easily without jumping through hoops. And I did it all not being rich, right? Like my income didn't change at that time. But moving abroad gave me a space to think. It made me see all of the options that I have in my life, you know? Being able to just ask, do I actually want this? Instead of always asking, can I survive this? That shift was everything because when your cost of living drops, your imagination, it expands. You start thinking differently. You start asking different questions. You start realizing that maybe the goal is not always to make more money just to keep up with the expensive life, right? Maybe sometimes the goal is to design a less expensive life that gives you more freedom. And I know that sounds simple, but it is powerful because so many people are stuck trying to out earn a lifestyle that is quietly suffocating them. And sometimes the move is not just make more, sometimes the move is rethink the whole system, right? That could mean moving abroad, or it could just mean moving to a different city. It can mean downsizing. It can mean getting remote work or having building a portable business or choosing a slower pace or just changing what you value. It could mean admitting that the life people told you to chase is not the life that actually gives you peace. That's lifestyle design, not just dreaming, designing. Now, let me say this before somebody gets in the comments and starts acting like a patriotic keyboard warrior. I am not saying everybody should leave America. I am not saying moving abroad is easy. I am not saying other countries are perfect. I am not saying you should pack one suitcase, sell your couch, and move to a country you saw on TikTok because somebody said that it was $300 in rent. That's not what I'm saying, even though I kind of did that a little bit. But listen, don't do that and then blame me. Do your freaking research. Understand the visa rules, understand healthcare and understand the taxes and safety and language barriers and the culture. Understand that visiting somewhere and living somewhere are not the same thing. That's the biggest thing. A vacation is not a relocation plan. Let's be grown about this and smart, okay? But I am saying that you are allowed to question whether your current environment supports the life that you are trying to build. That is the real takeaway. You are allowed to ask, does this city make sense for me? Does this cost of living support my goals? Does this place support my nervous system? Does this environment give me options or do they take them away? Am I staying because it actually feels aligned or am I staying because it feels familiar? Those are questions that are allowed. And for some people, the answer may not be moving abroad, right? It may be just changing neighborhoods. It may be changing your job or your routine or your spending patterns. It may be just changing how much access people have to you or changing the way that you build your life. But for me, living abroad cracked something wide open. It showed me that the normal way of doing life was not the only way. It was definitely not my way. And once you see that, it's very hard to go back to pretending that you don't know. Cause like I said in my last video, when you know better but don't do better, you hurt harder. Because once you have been shown a different reality from your own, you can't then go back to being ignorant. And in this case, when I say ignorant, I mean not knowing, lacking knowledge. You now know. So, yes, I moved abroad and realized America had me in a freaking chokehold. Not because America is the only stressful place on earth. I know that's not true. And it's not because life abroad is perfect either, and it was not. But leaving gave me enough distance to see how much pressure I had normalized. The expensive cost of living, the constant hustle, the inaccessible self-care and healthcare, the overstimulation, the feeling that I had to earn more and more just to feel okay, just to feel like I was getting by. Living abroad showed me that softness is easier to practice when your environment is not constantly demanding hardness from you. That was the lesson, and it changed the way I think about money and rest and self-care and location and just lifestyle design in general, because sometimes the answer is not more discipline, sometimes the answer is a different environment, sometimes the answer is not pushing harder, it's sometimes the answer is asking, "Why is this life so expensive to maintain?" And sometimes the answer is giving yourself permission to build differently. So I want to know, have you ever lived somewhere that changed how you saw your life? Or are you currently in a place that feels like it is draining you? Please drop it in the comments. And if this conversation resonated with you, like it, subscribe, and stick around because we are going to keep talking about lifestyle design, adulting, soft life strategy, location independence, singlehood, child free living, and just building a life that actually gives you room to breathe. All right. Bye, y'all.